Hello everyone, welcome to the ninth lecture on CSS from Basic Q&A. In this lecture, we will basically learn a lot of things that are left out with CSS. So the first thing is the flex box. So what is flex box? See, the CSS flex box layout allows you to easily format your HTML. Okay, so the flex box makes it simple to align items vertically and horizontally using rows and columns. Items will reflect to different um yeah items will reflect to different sizes using different rows and column, and the items have the different sizes to fill the space. It makes the responsive design easier. So using the flexbox we can create more responsive websites. And then the thing is, why should we use the flexbox? So for that, vertically centering a block of content inside its parent. So suppose we have a lot of components over there. If we want to vertically center a block of a content inside its parent, so for that purpose we will use the flexbox. And to make all the children of a container take up an equal amount of the available width height, so regardless of how much width height is available, making all columns in a multiple column layout adopt the same height even if they contain a different amount of content. So using all these properties of the flexbox, we can create a responsive web page. So to begin with, let's create a file. You will understand it more clearly while coding. Let's name it as flexbox.html, and then our boilerplate code here, I will just name it as flexbox. Flexbox, and let's create a div with the class name container, and let's have let me just create in this way. And then suppose I want a div of the class name of the class, I mean to say the flex item, let's say, and then I want it in 4. So I have created this. Let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and let's say I want one more div. Class name is dot flex item. This is 5. So let's give some IDs as well so that we can concentrate on one particular item. Later you will understand why I'm giving these IDs over here. Item 1, and then here you can just give ID is equal to flex item 2. Here the ID is equal to something is wrong. ID is equal to flex item 3, and then here ID is equal to flex item 4. Yeah, so we have created these child or divs inside this parent div. So this is what I meant when I say the child and parent components. So for that, what we can just do it. So we can just name it as flex container. We will name it flex container because we are dealing with the flex box of CSS. So, and then let's give some styling. Let's go live first. And here let's give some basic styling. I will do it very fastly because let's not waste a lot of time in just the things that we have already learned. So let's give this one, and then I will make the font size to be 20 pixel, and then let's give the padding. Let's say padding is 0, 20 pixel, 30 pixel, and 0 from the other side. And then line height, let's give the line height to 1.4. I hope you remember everything that I have written over here. So what I can just do here is, uh, let's also style our flex item first, and then we will learn about styling it using the flex box. Let's give the width of 75 pixel, and then height. Let's give the same height, and then let's give the background color to be, let's give some darker color, dark blue. And then let's give the border, let's keep it 2 pixel solid. You have to write the solid all the time. So let's give the border, let's give it dark blue, and let's make it to some light bluish color. Let me remove this, light blue. So yeah, that looks very good now. And then text align to center, and then let's give some font size, let's give it to 2 em. Okay, so mm, let's make the color, let's make the color to white. Not this one, let's make it to white. Color is over, let's give some font weight to bold, let's make it bold. And then line height to some 1.4. I think I have already given all these stylings here. So line height, I have given the line height in the body itself. So yeah, there is no use of giving this, so we can also remove it. Let's just keep it for now. And then what we can just do is, let's focus on a single thing. Like let's color it different ways. Let's say flex item, for the flex item 1, let's give the color of background color of some, not white, let's not give white here, let's give some pinkish color. Okay, and then let me copy it all over here. So let's make it flexbox 2, and let's give some other color. Let me just randomly pick the colors, and let's make it to some, let's give some, not blue, let's give some greenish color. So this is flex item 3. And then for the flex item 4, let's one more select, let's give some orangish color. Okay, so we have one more item. So for that, what's that, 5, right? So let me just make it little darker. So yeah, that looks good now. To style this using the flex box, what we can just do is, let's come here and let's go to the flex container. flex container, and here what we can just do is let me just make the display as flex. So you can see the change over here. And then one more property named as flex wrap. I can do flex wrap. This is basically the, let's make it wrap. So the default is, unwrap, I think. So yeah, let's just see the properties available over here. Yeah, no wrap is the default one. So I will just make it to wrap. And then let's focus on the flex item. I hope you're understanding about these things, as we are focusing on these different things over here and we are making changes using the flex properties. So we have already used this, so we can just make changes over here. Here what I can just do is so let's not do any changes here. So let's just copy this one here so that it will render first, and then what I can just do is for the flex container display is I have made as flex. You can also make it to block. You can see the difference when I make it to block. And then one more thing you can do is display flex. Display flex, if you make it, it is changed. And then flex direction, we have one more property known as flex direction. Let me just comment it out this for now. And then what I can just do is flex direction. So for the flex direction, we have all these several properties values. So if I do this column reverse, you can see it is from 1 to 5 from the backward, like it is reversed. And then there are a lot of values in properties. You should go through all of them to make sure you have understood all of them. And then we have one more thing, like here, let me just uncomment this and we'll see one more property like wrap reverse. So yeah, it has went over there. Even if I comment it out, you can see the difference. This is come here. So wrap reverse, this is the property of wrap reverse. And then we have one more property named align content. So for the align content, these are all the properties. I will just use this flex end. If I do the flex end, you probably not see any changes. If I do the flex start, we still not see the changes over here. So for that, what I can just do is, flex start, and let me make it a flex end. And then, yeah, this is the page. And then what change I can do is flex content, align content to, I can just make it to center. So before that, we should give some, these things. Let's give the width. Let's give it to 100%. And then let's give the height to some 500 pixel. And then, yeah, you can see this has been aligned at the center as we have mentioned over here. Height to 500 pixel. And then let's give some border. And what border I can give? Let's give a small border and solid. And then Let's select some color. Let's say this slate blue. So yeah, here this is pixel, and we can see a quite good border has been displayed over here, and you can see this content is aligned at the center. So this is how it basically works, and we can make changes over all this content. You can make changes, you can try different values to these properties, and you can see how this basically work. So for this align content, we have one more value that is space around. So you see the difference. I hope you see the difference when I make it to space around. And then the next thing we have is align content space around, and then there is one more thing like space between. Yeah, it has went here, and then what we can just do is, we have few more things, like let's focus on our item here, and then a new property named flex grow. I can give it to any numerical value, let's say 2. You can see the difference of this box, it has been grown. And if I, if I just inspect over here, and if I decrease the size, and you can see that even that size is decreasing, but that the size, different size has been applied to this first item. So you can observe the change by making the changes over there. And so the flex grow, this property, you can give any numerical value and you can try it on your own. The next thing is after this flex grow, let me just comment it out so that you can also refer it later. Flex, it is flex shrink. For the flex shrink, for this also you can give some small value, or you can give some numeric value, I meant to say. And then here you can see, you can observe the change over here. So that is the use of our flex shrink. Let's just comment it out. For using the flex shrink, we have to comment that out, and you can observe the changes over here, like how the text is being shrinked. You can see, yeah, this content is being shrinked. So the next thing is align self. For the item, this one, I will comment it out. Align self. Let's give it to start. Let's give it a start, and we will see the difference over there. It has been aligned itself. You can see when I inspect, we see the difference over there. And then there are few more values over there for the align self. So start is basically, I guess this is the default one, and then you can make it to flex start, and you can expand it and see changes over there. You can see the changes for the different different width of the devices. And then what you can just do is, it is, you can make it to stretch, where it is here, you can make it to stretch. this is the one more value we have. And then you can also make a lot of changes over there, and you can see. So for that, the stretch, we have to just comment it out, the height of the item. Let me just comment, and you can see the content is stretched now. For the different sizes also, you can see the content is stretched. So we have a shorthand notation for our flex. So for that, what we can just do is, let me just comment it out even this, and we will write the shorthand notation for the flex here. For that, we will just write flex, and if you hover over it, you can see the syntax. That is, first we have to mention the flex grow, and then flex string, and then flex basis. So for that, I will mention 3, 2, and 250 pixel. So basically, this is how our shorthand notation for the flex work. So this is about the flex. You can go to the MDN reference of the flex. You can just hover over anything, or you can just come here, yeah, flex. You can click here to the MDN. You can open it. And we see a lot of documentation here. You try all these values, all small values, and try it on your own so that you get good at it. Understanding flex is very important to make our web pages responsive and to look good. So you can just go through all of this and understand it very well. So the next thing we have is the CSS grid layout. So basically, the CSS grid layout is a two-dimensional layout system for the web. So it lets you lay content out in rows and columns, and has many features that make building complex layouts straightforward. So this is the CSS grid layout. So to understand it in more better way, what we can just do it, let's create a new file, and here I can just name it here. Let's name it grid.html. Let's save this. I will just save this, and then let's name it to grid. So basically, a grid is a collection of horizontal and vertical lines, creating a pattern against which we can line up our design elements. These grid help us to create designs where elements don't jump around, or you can change the width as we move from page to page. So basically providing a greater consistency on our web pages. So when we have the flex box, why do we use the grid? So flex box is basically a one dimensional, and CSS grid is two dimensional. So giving a grid instead of flex would give more beautiful look to our web page. So for this, what I can just do is, same, I will create a div dot container. In that, I will have some child divs named div dot items. So if I want to write some content inside this, what I can just do is write this, and let's say this is item, and then I want this in 5 quantity. So yeah, that worked perfectly fine. And here, let me just write 1, here 2, 3, 4, and 5. You shall have to write all this code for a better understanding. and then we will write this style. And then inside of this style, what you can just do is, let's style our container. This container, let's make the display as grid. So this is the grid value basically for the display property. Let's start our development server. So okay, and then we can just style our items. For the items, let's give the background color to be as let's give some brownish color. That looks bad, so let's come down and let's come even down. So let's give this color. So yeah, that looks good. And then let's give some border to be 3 pixel solid, and then you can give the color as green. That may suit. So yeah, that looks good. Some border radius. Let me go and let's give some border radius. So let's say it is as 3 pixel. That looks good, but I always prefer some larger border radius. So yeah, and then next thing what we can do is, we have this property related to the grids, that is grid template columns. So here we are creating the columns of 200 pixel and 200 pixel. Let's say we want to create the 3 columns, 200 pixel. So you can see the 3 columns have been created over here. If you just remove this, we can see that there are only 2 columns. There are only 2 columns, and if I do this here, we can observe the 3 columns over here. You can see it properly now. And okay, so I hope you understood this thing. And then what we can just do is we can also take the fraction number, right? So if you can just make it 20 pixel, and you can observe, I don't know why it is coming over and over again. So yeah, you can see for the first column this width is very less, and for this that is kind of normal 200 pixel that I have given over there. And then we can also give it in the fractional values. So for that, what we can just do is, let's say this is 1 fraction, and then once again this is 1 fraction, and then 1 fraction. So as I gave this, so 1 for everyone. So this is arranged in such a way that all the width of all these boxes are same. I can just increase it to 2. So yeah, you can see that this is sorry, the third column is twice than those of these columns. So this is the way you can also take the fractions. And then you can see that if we want to give some gap in between of these boxes, what I can just do is I have this grid gap. So you can use the grid gap of suppose 20 pixel. Yeah, you can see the grid gap have been applied here. So let me just check what's the glitch over there. Right. And then I hope you understand all this grid gap and all. And the next thing we will learn is, you can also give suppose instead of giving one fr, and one fr, what you can just do is you can just use this repeat function, and inside this repeat function you want to repeat it 3 times. What you want to repeat is fr, there is one fr. So this is the way you can give it. And then what we can just do is one more property we have, that is grid. Here it is grid auto rows. So in this we will give some values, like let's give 100 pixel, and you can see the change happened over here. It has been increased to some 100 pixel in the row size. So the next thing is, if you change it to, let's not focus on that, you change it on your own and observe those changes. Let's not make this video very lengthy. So the next thing is grid column, grid auto column. So grid auto columns it is. And then for this also you can give some value. If you don't give the value, it will just take the default value it has. So yeah, this is how it basically works. We can just watch it over here if I make the screen big. And then here one more thing we have to do is, we have one more like minimum and maximum. Instead of using all the responsiveness like we have learned about the media queries, instead of using that, we can just make it to min max function. And then minimum you want is 100 pixel, and then it can go to up to any. So for that I'll just use the auto. And then for this also, let's use the min max function, and let's say it is as 50 pixel, and then it can go to up to anything. So it is how it basically works. If I go on here and if I inspect, yeah, we can see our content over here. You can see, you can hover over it and you can see the number of columns over there, the rows and everything over there, you can just observe. So if I decrease the width of this, you can see how those items have been aligned over there for the different sizes. So basically this is how it works, you can see. So instead of using all the media queries and writing a lot of code, we can just make our this thing more understandable. Our code will be understandable. And here also we can make some changes. Let's say here what I will just do is auto refill. Make it to auto refill. And then min max and 200 pixel. So you can also use it in this way. You can make it in this way. Here I have used is repeat, that is 20 pixel, sorry, 200 pixel, and I want to repeat it right. For that, what we can just do is we can mention one fr over here. This is not refill, this is fill. So yeah, that was a small bug and I just cleared it by looking at it. And here it is how it works. Also, if you go here and if you again inspect here, and if I do like this, we can see this website is responsive. All the items inside those are responsive. So this is the way we can. So This was one of the most important and interesting thing to learn in the CSS. So I hope you understand all the concepts, and I would recommend you to go to the MDN reference of the grid. You can go here to the MDN reference and you can see all the content over there for the better understanding. You can try out all these things on your own. Try the entire code and understand each code line by line. So by that you can become good at it. So the next thing is about making the animations. And to explain you about the animations, I have created this file animations.html. So basically the animations have the two types. It is transition, and the one more thing is animation. So animations in CSS is of two types. So to understand what this basically is, the transition, so we can go to any website. Here that property is not displayed, so we can just consider our previous projects where we had created our payment form. There we had used our button. For that button we had the concept of hover, right? So we can style those hover. When the hover property is applied, you want to change some background color, right? So in the transitions, by just changing the background color, we can apply some durations over there, so that the background color will not immediately change. It will change in some sort of durations. So that is basically the transition. So transition properties are shorthand, and for the transition property, what we basically have is, first we mention the property name, and then we mention the time duration, and then we will mention the easing function. So we will understand all this one by one when we start coding for the animations. So for this we can just go to Google and we can search that is animatable, this one, animatable CSS properties, and you can go to this, and here we can see, if you scroll down you can see using CSS animations, using CSS transitions. Click on this CSS transitions. Here read out all the explanation, and you can see this state, initial state, has been shifted to the final state, but in the intermediate state we have some time duration. So that is nothing but the transition. So yeah, this is transition property, and then transition duration, transition timing function. So that is what we have. This is the basic syntax for the transition, and you can go through this for understanding. So that is it. And here one more thing you should mention is the delay. So basically delay is a numeric value that you have to mention for the transition. So for animation property, what we can just do is, instead of writing over there, um, here we can go to this using CSS animations. Here we can see, yeah, we use this keyframes, this one, and then yeah, first one is the animation composition, and then animation delay, animation direction, animation duration, animation fill mode, animation iteration count, animation name. So all this animation timing function, play state, all this we will use in the code. This may seem to be very difficult now, but once you start coding it, it is very simple and interesting thing. So yeah, here you can see they have given some time duration. They have said how many times it should repeat and all these things when it should apply. So all these things they have mentioned over here. Go through this documentation once. So here for now what we can just do is let me make it little bigger. So for understanding animations, we will create an interesting animated transition. So for that, let's go live now. For now, we basically don't have anything. So let's just create one thing here. So let's create a div, and then what you can do is you can see animated. You can keep the class name anything. So I don't want to mention anything but just say animated, and then what we can just do is let's style it here itself. Let's style it, and let's say we want to, what we are trying to do is we want to style our animated class, and here what I can just do is width, that is let's give to the 100 pixel. So you might be wondering to what I'm giving all this styling. So you will understand height can be 100 pixel, and then let's give some background color. Background color, let's keep anything and let's change by the color picker. Okay, so let's give some opposite colors. Let's make it to this blue, and then let me slide it upside even more, and yeah, this blue was looking good. Let's keep it even darker to understand our transition better. And then what I can just do is we will style it even more. We have this property named transition. As we have already learned, as I said about few of the values that we have represent. So let's give some width here, and let's make it for 2 seconds. And then we have to give some more properties with 2 seconds, and then let's give the height 4 seconds. Yeah, 4 seconds, and then border radius, let's say 5 pixel. So this is it. And then if we want to add more stylings, if whenever we remember, let's add it over here when we want to add. So we are styling for our animated. Again, the class name can be anything, and we want to change this when we hover. So for that, let's set up some width. It is, let's say 300 pixel. Let's say the height to be 300 pixel itself, and then let's give some border radius to some 50%. So do it over here is this is not pixel, we are setting some time duration, right? So we have written this code and let's check if that works. So as you see, when I just hover on this, if I hover on this, this is getting expanded, right? So, and border radius is also changing. It is converting to a circle because I have mentioned the border radius as 50%. So if I just remove this transition property, you can see that this is transiting like this. So for now, we can just remove this content. We don't need it at all. You can see this is just changing its state like this. It is not at all looking like a animation. So for that purpose, we have made it in this way. You can see it is being changing with some time duration, that is I have kept here 4 seconds. And then after border radius, I would also want to change the background color, right? So let's give the background color of, let's just give some brownish color and we'll change it now. Let's make to some red type of color. So yeah, so you can see this is being changed like that. And also I have to set some changes here. I don't want the color to be changed right after I click here. I want it to be changed with some time duration, right? So for that, let's make some more changes over here. So is we have added the property of border radius, height, width, and everything. So one more thing we have to add is this background color to be some 5 second. I have added the delay of 5 second for our background color. So you can observe it over here, the way how it is being changed. So basically this is the way how our animation works in the CSS. We can try a lot of projects more to understand a lot about it. So to understand about anime animations, what I can just do is I will create a new file and I will save it to animation2.html, and here I will start this, and let's not focus on our HTML now, animation 2, and inside of the body let's have some anchor tag. Okay, so let's have a anchor tag. Let's not give any href or anything. Let's just write it to loading. And after that, let's change our styling. Let me go live now. And we will add styling for this. Let's say this is style. And here what we can just do is for anchor tag, I'm making the changes. So for the anchor tag, let's add some background color, uh, background, we can just make it, and let's add some dark bluish color. So after that, let's add some border radius. Border radius can be 50%. And then we have learned this display thing, that is, let's make it inline block. And then let's add the color. Let's code it fastly because we have already learned all these things. Let's make the cursor to the pointer. Well, you cannot see the cursor in my recorded video, but you can add it on your laptop, and then you can just make it as font size font size, you can change the font size to, let's say, some 0.75 rem. So it's at the font weight. The font weight can be, let's say, 300. And then letter spacing, let's give the letter spacing of 0.2 rem, or you can just give it in the pixels. That actually doesn't matter. And then what I just want to give is, let's give some padding of 1 em, and then 2 em, and then let's just give 1.1 em. So it looks good for now. And then I will just remove this href here, we don't need that. And so you can see that line has been gone from here as I removed the href. So after the padding, we will just add this position property, and position can be relative. And then let's add some text decoration. Text decoration can be none. And let's make it to text transform to some uppercase. And then you can see the changes applying over there. And then what I want to just do is vertical align. There might be some spelling mistake. Let's just get it this way. Vertical align, and let's make it to top. And then one more thing I need is margin top. Let's make it some 100 pixel, or I can just make it some 150 pixel. Okay, that looks good now. And let's add one more. I'm not using the shorthand notation now. Let's say 20 pixel. Let's add it more. I want it to be at the center. That looks good now. So we have created a basic thing here. And the next thing I can just do is animations. As we had learned over the documentation that we will use the keyword keyframes, that is an identifier. So I will use it as bouncing. You can just go and see what is this bouncing is. Bouncing means, we just know it in English, right? That will go ups and downs. So that is nothing but bouncing. We use that property over here, and we will shift from 0%. Let's say we will have 0% at the beginning. So let's give the bottom to be 0. From the bottom, the distance to be 0. And then let's give some box shadow. Let's give it to be 0, 0, and then let's give it 5 pixel. Let's give some color, that is, let's give some blackish color and make it little lighter. Or we can just keep it black itself. Let's make it little lighter. So after this, what I can just do is, from 0%, I want to shift to the 100%. You can keep it any value. If you want to just shift to the 75%, you can just keep it over there. And then bottom, let's say 50 pixel. After shifting to 100%, I want from the bottom distance to be 50 pixel. And then let's give some box shadow. Black, and I will make it even lighter than what we had earlier. So yeah, so the reason we are not able to see any changes over here that we made using this code is because, as we had seen, we have to add the animation property here. animation property here, and that is I want to make it to bouncing. Bouncing. I hope the spelling is correct. So yeah, this is it. So after this, I should make the delay. Let's add the delay, that is 0.5 second. You can make anything length is after 0.600 seconds. So you can see a small changes over here. This is being shifted and coming down. So that is happening only one time when I load this page. So for that reason, I want to add how many times I want it to be repeated. Let's add 4 here. So it will bounce for 4 times, but I want it to be repeated for infinite number of times. So you can see that is happening over there. So you can decrease this, or you can make it 0.1, anything. You can just make changes over there and understand how basically the things will work. I think we should make it even slower. For that, what I can just do is, oh, that is very less. So I will just make it to 2 seconds. So, and then I will just write alternate and then for the both. So you can see some changes have been applied over here, and our animation is working perfectly fine. So basically this is how the animations work. What you can just do is, we have kept it very light. You can just make it dark and see. Okay. So this is it. This is how the animation works, and you can make changes here, and you can observe as I move my cursor here, it is getting converted to the pointer. You can observe it on your laptop by using this sort of code and making changes. So this is it.